Hi, it's Neil from Mighty Little Green Machine. Today we've got the Mighty Little Green Machine in the garage. We have a nice cozy fire going in the pellet stove. It's nice and warm in here, although it's not really that cold outside right now. So today is the day after Christmas. I hope you all had a great Christmas or a great holiday, depending on what you celebrate. And I'm going to take some time. I got to do some maintenance. I've got to grease this thing. I'm probably well overdue. I've been running it a lot. And I've got one of my levers on the back hoe is kind of getting a little stiff, so I want to take it apart and see about lubricating it. My shifter linkage seems to be a little stiff, so I want to see about lubricating that. I just got a bunch of different little things. I'm probably going to do a little bit of touch-up paint on it. I did wash it. If you watched my video where I sunk it, I did wash it real quick. I just rinsed it off before I brought it in because it was covered in mud again. So it's a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know if this will turn into more than one video or not. My goal right now is to make it one video. We'll see how long it ends up going. So let's get started. I think that I have a leak down here in this cylinder. I've had oil a few times down here on this pad, this plate right here. I kept assuming that it was oil leaking down from above, and it may be. But I've ran it back and forth a bunch of times before I brought it in. It doesn't seem to be leaking now. I'll try it some more, and I'll keep doing that while it's clean, because the problem is every time I see it, it's all dirty. But I have disconnected the lines and spilled some oil. So we'll see. If it's a loose fitting or something, I'll take care of it. If it's a bad seal in the cylinder, then I'll send it in for warranty work. We are at about 120 hours now. It's amazing me how quickly I'm putting hours on it, but we've been getting a lot done, as you've seen. Okay, let's look at the grease fittings on these. So this is the right side of the machine. This is your cylinder that pivots it side to side. You've got a grease fitting there. This is the bottom of one of your lift cylinders. You've got a grease fitting there. You've got a grease fitting here that takes care of both of these points. You got another grease fitting at the top that takes care of this point. There's a grease fitting down inside here that does the top of the curl cylinder. Took me a while to find that one, but it's down on the top of the cylinder. Then we've got two grease fittings here, one here and one here, down here, and then you've got one more down here, and then there's also another one down here. I believe that's all of them. That's all the pivot points. So I'm going to go ahead and grease these, and we'll go to the next step. So since the last time I've greased this, I don't remember if I videoed it or not. I had a manual grease gun before, and I'm like, no big deal. Well, when you do all the fittings on the backhoe and the tractor, yes, it's not that bad, but an electric one certainly makes it, or a battery one makes it a lot easier. So I ordered this Milwaukee grease gun. I've tried it once, not on the tractor. This will be the first time using it on the tractor, but this should make life a lot easier. I paid full price for it, ordered on Amazon. I'm just a big fan of the Milwaukee products. So I like this. I did not buy the bigger one. This is the 12-volt version. They have an 18. I don't need an 18. I'm not doing it professionally, and this is really the only thing that I grease. Okay. So you should really grease these every 10 hours of use. I know I've got more than that. And I'm going to do the front fittings too. I got you. Got you, I got you, I got you. I don't want to miss anything. You know, we pay a lot of money for these things. I want to keep it running nice. Okay. I think we can get them all now. This one I am not sure I can do without a right angle. Okay. I'm going to grab a right angle fitting, and then we'll get that. Okay, so see if I can get you closer so you can see what I'm doing. Doing this fitting down here. What I've got is just a right angle adapter. So the grease gun plugs into this. That goes down in your thing. That allows me to get into spots that I can't get into. Got all kinds of different adapters. I bought these years ago when I used to work on cars. Okay, so I found by tipping the bucket all the way up, I can get much better access to this fitting. So before I go through all the effort to change it, I'm going to try and grease it again now that I can get on it better. Wow. That's probably not good. I actually had water coming out of this, just dripping out of it. I'm going to have to probably do that fitting at some point, but for now, that worked. But that concerns me that I had water drip out. I know it's been wet where I've been digging, but I don't know. Okay, so on the front end loader, we have one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, and one all the way down here. So it's 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. And there's the same on the other side. So I'm not going to bother having you watch me grease them. I'll go ahead and grease these now and then be done with that. Same thing. Every 10 hours, you should be greasing your front end loader. It's real important that you do that. That keeps some of the slop out of this. It makes it so your pins don't wear prematurely. You don't want to have those dry going up and down, especially where there's so much force that ends up being on these. So I'm going to go ahead and grease these, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I just finished doing what I call exercising it after I greased it. I ran both the front end loader and the Back Hoe through all of its paces to kind of work the grease in. I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but I like to do it. So next, I'm going to pull this cover. There's 2 bolts there, and they believe just 1 bolt in the back here at the top. Right there, this one. Those 3 and this cover will come off. Now, I have seen a video on Projects for JW where he actually was able to switch the functions down in there for these sticks to make it operate the same as a mini excavator. Because for those of you who don't know, the John Deere Back Hoes, and I'm not sure it's not all Back Hoes, but all I know is John Deere, work opposite of a Mini X. So I actually like the way my controls are. I'm not going to change them, but I want to see if there's anything I can lubricate. I feel like one of the sticks, the up and down stick, the one on the left, well, in this video on the right, is binding and sticking. So I'm going to pull those bolts and take that apart, and then I will, once I get the bolts out, I'll show you removing the cover. I've never done it before. But so all I'm going to do right now, though, is take those 3 bolts out. Okay, I decided to show you this. So these 2 here are 14s, and they're actually carriage bolts. So there isn't really a nut head on the other side. So in theory, they should come right out. Okay, so I took the other side out, so those are both out. Now, the back top bolt is a 13. And I'm hoping that it's threaded in there. Now this should, well, see if I can get this off. There it goes. Okay, I'm going to try and leave the boots. So I'll show you what this looks like. Okay, so you can see a couple of joints. I don't really see anything that I'm going to lubricate the joints, but there's all your hoses. You'd have to take this off if you had to change a hose, or someday when I have to, when they wear out eventually, but, and there's your joysticks. I believe what they did to switch the up is just move some of the hoses around so that when you run the levers, it does different functions than it does now. Like I said, I'm not going to play with that. Okay, so it turns out on the top of or on that back bolt, this slides on the tab, little capture nut. It fell out when I took it apart, so I got a little nervous. It was a regular nut, so I just got to slide this back on and get it to catch, and then I can put this back together. What I did was I put some penetrating oil in, and then I ran all of the levers all the way around and lubricated them off. I don't know if it makes a difference or not. I mean, that's the only thing I can see that could possibly be catching. So hopefully that solved the problem. That was just that easy. I just had to slide it back on. So all I did was, it's nice and smooth. I mean, hopefully that was it. Because if not, it's in the valve. And I don't know what I'll do. Okay, so next, I kind of feel like an idiot for this one. I didn't break anything or anything, but for the longest time, because my other tractor didn't have a backhoe, for the longest time on this tractor, when I hooked up the backhoe, I couldn't use my Summit hydraulics kit. So I couldn't use my grapple to send as my backhoe, and it was frustrating me. And one of my YouTube friends reached out to me. He has a channel that I've linked to before, Projects with JW, and said you can hook them in series. And I got to be honest, it kind of puzzled me still. So I went to his site and found a video that he made on how to do it, and it makes complete sense now that I've done it. But I need to rerun the lines, because now what happens is I've got all these things hanging out here because I just hooked it up to try it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do it, and then I'll show you as I rerun these hoses a little bit for now. I'm going to be making new hoses and routing them better permanently soon. That's going to be a video coming up hopefully in the next month or so. The problem is that my friend who has the crimper doesn't have the dies yet. They're on back order. So he's got the crimper, not the die. So once he gets that, then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to rerun some hoses. I got a bunch of changes to make on here. I'm gonna fix a limitation of the way that my Summit set's hooked up now, but I'll talk about all that when I do it. So let me show you how. I'll reverse the camera and show you how to hook this up so that you can run everything at the same time, because it's been a game changer. I got to tell you, I'm kind of frustrated now that I didn't know this sooner, and it's so simple. Okay, so on the tractor, you've got a pressure line coming from the pump and a return line going back to the pump. So it makes a circuit. So when there's nothing on the tractor, you hook your pressure and your return line together and it just makes a loop. All you're ever doing with hydraulics is creating a loop. When you add new things in, you just make it a bigger loop and it'll do more things. So then I've got two different connections. One off of the Summit kit, which comes out of here, and then one off of the Back Hoe. What I was doing before is I was plugging one or the other into the pressure or return. Now, the Summit kit, pressure and return as well, this loops through. That's how this works. Okay, so this makes a circuit all the way through it. And it's easy to figure out if you've hooked it up and you know it's working right, because the fittings are different. It makes it so you can't mess it up. Okay, so here's what I did. And here's what you need to do to run it all at the same time. I brought my pressure, this is my pressure line from the tractor. I hooked it into the pressure line for the Summit kit, okay, for my extra valves. Then this is my return line. My return line comes down and it hooks into the return line from the Back Hoe. See that there? That's the return line from the Back Hoe. Then the return line, to the pressure line from the Back Hoe. So it's going to be pressure, come up through pressure, go down into the pressure line on the Back Hoe. Then the return line for the Back Hoe hooks to the return line on the tractor. So all I did was create a bigger loop. So now everything hydraulic on my tractor is hooked up at the same time. So I can run my 3 valves here at the same time that I can run my backhoe, which has been huge for me. If you've been watching any of my latest videos when I've been pushing trees down and then moving them and stuff, I was stopping to unhook it all, and that's a pain in the neck because the pressure doesn't release on these. I'll explain all this when I do my other video, but because I had to put check valves in here, the pressure doesn't release. So I have to use wrenches to loosen it, and I've got a solution that I'll be doing soon for that. But it's just that simple to hook it up. But now, because I just quickly threw this together to try it, this is not good. So what we're going to do right now is rerun these hoses. Okay, so I put a rag here to collect not much fluid comes out, but a little bit does. And I put a rag here because, as I said earlier, I'm not sure if I have a leak on the cylinder or if it's extra oil that gets all over this is dripping down in there. I just don't know. So I'm going to be careful and try not to spill any oil on the tractor. It's just a little bit comes out. So now we're going to take this line and I'm going to run it. Again, this is temporary. I'm going to run it here. And the only thing is, again, you got to make sure you're not going to get any pinch points. And I'm going to run it down underneath, I hope. If I can get it through there. It's stuck right now. Oh, it's this hose that's getting me stuck. I think I can do this. But we cram a lot of stuff on these compact tractors. For sure. Almost there. Problem, I can't get a good grip on it. I've got the clearance now I need, but I can't grab it right. Oh, there she goes. Come on. Okay. Now, I'm going to have to... Okay, I got to do this. After all that, I'm going to run a little bit different yet. Let me see. I'm going to have to adjust this angled piece because it's tight. It doesn't swivel. But I think I want to run this different to give me just a little bit more. Maybe not. Okay, so what I got to do is I've got to loosen the nut a little, swivel the 90 up so it goes right in there. And that should fit perfect and keep it away from from all the moving pieces. It's not going to come near the 3-point hitch, the rock arms. It's not near the tire. It's not near anything. It's not near the seats. And I can zip tie it in to make it even better, but it's really the only way I can see to run it because there's just no other space. Let's see if I can. Nope, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, let me grab a wrench and we'll make that adjustment. Okay, so this particular, let's see if we can get you closer. This particular one is a 3/4. I'm just gonna loosen this. This one's actually going to stay hooked here all the time anyway. Okay. So now, that's nice. Doesn't hit anything. Backhoe can come on and off. I can use the rock shaft. Doesn't interfere with the seats. So that makes me happy. What I'll do is I'll put a zip tie up in there in a minute and just kind of tie it all together. But I want to run the second one first to make sure I have what I need. And we'll go from there. So same thing, as soon as I find that rag. I'm going to unhook this, catch the oil. This is where my wife's car parks too when I'm not working on this, so I don't want to, I don't know if this one's going to be long enough. This might be a problem.
This might be a problem. We're going to see in a minute. Again, no room. There we go. I think I made some room there. Moving the other hose down so I can hopefully squeeze this in. Okay. Now, though, let's see if I can run this up and around. Let's see. Okay. That will work. And then all I'm going to have to do is when I take the back hoe off is unhook this one and this one, plug that into there to finish our loop, and drop the back hoe. So that works out perfect. Okay, before I zip tied it, I decided I'm going to try something. I'm going to take this hose, because these ones from the Summit kit are running on the outside of it, and I can tuck them in and get a little more slack if they're on the inside of it. But I don't want to take the fitting all the way off to slide it back to the hole. I don't think it'll slide through. I'm going to try that, but if it doesn't, I'll just take these two bolts off, slide it through, bring it around, and then bolt it back on, and that'll make those hoses tighter. Okay, let's see how we do now. Oh, are you nutted? I hope not. You are nutted. Okay, I guess I'm going to need a wrench. Okay, one down. And the wires were nice enough to hold my nut from falling. Now, well, that's going to fit much nicer. Much nicer indeed. Okay, there's two ways this can go on. This is the fun part, figuring out which way is which. No, it should be this way, yeah, okay. Then we're just going to slide that back in and start our nut. This is not a fun spot to get into. Not gonna lie. Especially with all the extra stuff that I've added to the tractor. Okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna use this pair of needle nose. Okay, if you've never used this trick, what I do is I hold the nut and the needle nose, I slide it down in front of the bolt and then spin it in. As long as it's lined up correctly, it works great. You gotta be careful you don't cross thread, but this one, it turns out, is between the fender and the ROPS. These two nuts, right into that one and that one, are the two that I'm dealing with. You can see how tight it is in there. But now that I've got them started, I can throw the wrench on and tighten them up. Okay, so here's the finished product. I've got all my connections tucked down in. They're not going to hit the wheel. They're all the way away from the rock shaft and
3-point hitch. They're tucked all in down here. The back hoe seat goes up without a problem. There goes my light. The regular seat goes down without a problem. Nothing hits. So I'm pleased with that. Like I said, I do want to rerun all these hoses and figure out a way to make them a little bit neater than this. I think what I want to do is lengthen them so that I can run them in and down the ROPS and then in, but I'll figure that out when I'm doing it. So that's going to do it for today. This video ran long. I didn't think it would be this long. I cut as much as I could, and I actually moved some things into the next video, part 2. It still was too long, but we got a lot done today. So we got the hoses rerouted, we got the levers lubricated in the back hoe, we got the back hoe greased, and also the front end loader. So those things are all done, and I'll continue this project in the next video. Please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.